Hello and welcome back to the 12th man. Delighted to be joined back by Sam Mc Corkell here. A lot of people enjoyed the first one, Sam, so great to have you back on.
Aye, good to be back. Looking forward to it.
I think you're coming back in slightly different circumstances this time. It was all happy-go-lucky last time. It's a bit more doom and gloomy Liverpool this time. So we're going to be chatting about Liverpool. We're going to be getting we're going to review the match of the weekend. Then we're going to do a wee bit of preview in the Spurs game, and we're also going to be chatting about Liverpool as a whole. And then we're going to be looking at Frank Lampard's second, whether it was harsh or whether it was fair. And then we'll look at the rest of the games to finish off. So I'm going to start with the game of the weekend. United, Liverpool. I think it was a wee bit different to the Premier League game. I expected it to be a bit more open. Because you could possibly say there was as much riding on the game because it was just the fourth round of the cup. But Liverpool, I thought, improved, played better. A lot of people are saying to me, I don't know what you thought. I haven't even chatted about the game, so I'll be interested to hear what you say. But a lot of people are telling me they know it was a great game. I thought it was a great game in terms of entertainment. I don't think there was a lot of quality in the game. A lot of the goals were mistakes, I thought. But there was a lot of poor defending. Don't get me wrong, it's a bit more entertaining. But I thought tactically it wasn't as good. I really enjoyed the first game, especially the first half. So just be interested to see what your thoughts on that. How did you think the game went as a whole?
I thought it was a poor game as well, as in terms of standard. Like, it was definitely more entertaining, but the game just came down to individual mistakes. That was it. I don't think there wasn't too much in it. Liverpool definitely, you could see they tried to put a bit of a press on, like, but just don't have the legs in the midfield at the minute. They do it for a sustained period, and then Williams at the back was. Everybody knew they were going to target that anyway. When Trent went, they were just going to try and isolate him, and that's what happened. Like, but in terms of even the goals, like the one Williams gave away was just basic defending. I don't know what happened. They just completely missed the ball, like, and it's criminal at that level, like.
As a coach, as I said, and at any level, it's hard to blame a coach for that. But see, just on that individual there, the one thing I sort of look at Klopp with the defender, Williams, is do you think they sort of playing Henderson at centre half? It was going to be very difficult to bring Williams or Phillips back in because their confidence is going to have obviously took a massive hit. And I think he's had a lot of bad luck in terms of Henderson's got injured as well. Matip obviously can't rush back because he has to watch him. Spurs game probably a bigger game, so he didn't want to rush playing him. So I'm sure if Henderson was fit, he would have played Fabinho and Henderson at the back. So he almost was forced and they playing him. And I think sort of Williams was out there with that sort of pressure on him, and then there's how a mistake like that can happen because he is a professional footballer. Doesn't matter, if he's got weaknesses, he shouldn't miss the ball like that.
You're probably right. That's probably a lot going on in his head, thinking I can't make a mistake. I need to prove, and then he's maybe overthought things, like, because he dived in a few things at Rashford, and I'm sure before the game they probably talked about don't dive in. If you dive in against someone like Rashford, you're in trouble. Like, and a few times he tried to dive in, and then I honestly don't know what happened with that last one. It was just a completely misjudge thing. I'm not too sure, but I'd say his confidence is not, like, sure. He played a lot of football prior the Southampton game. I was shocked when he actually started Henderson at centre back against Southampton. I didn't see the reason why he should have done it, because all right, Williams obviously isn't mad up or anybody's level, like, but he still played a lot of Champions League games, enough experience to go in against the likes of Danny Ings and whoever. Like, if you can play against Harry Kane and Son in a big Premier League game, I'm sure you can play against Southampton and that game. Like, so I'm not sure what's happened or what's going on. But I know now after Williams' game on Sunday, like, he'll probably not play again the rest of the season, not unless it's really.
It's going to happen. That's the thing. I think on Sunday there was a bit of desperation about it because they obviously couldn't risk Matip, and he had nobody else really. It was either him or Phillips, and he obviously gave Williams the shout. But as you say, I thought when he went with them two at the back against Southampton, I thought them two centre halves are going to take a massive confidence hit, and they're not going to play again unless it's complete desperation. And obviously the Henderson injuries made that desperation happen. So very difficult to bring him back, and he is just a young lad. So it's just one of them mistakes. It's just you've seen it on a Sunday morning, and you'd be upset. So.
I think, but I felt sorry for Williams too, like, because, like, Man United and Spurs would be Liverpool's toughest games in terms of the way them teams play. They're the best at doing what they do, like the counter, how quick they can break. Like, I think Williams should have been given a bit more protection, like, even played James Milner on the right side of the three just to protect him a bit more. They didn't protect him at all, like, he was just left on his own at times, like, which it's not fair either. Like,
No, well, Callum's been on the fuel a couple of times, and he was saying to me after the game that he doesn't blame Williams, doesn't blame Klopp, he blames the board. He said to me, it doesn't matter how tight money is and how tight the situation is with COVID. When you're being forced to play two centre halves that aren't ready for this level, you can't really blame the boy, and you can't really blame the manager. So do you sort of see it where FSG really have to take a lot of the blame for this, and they should have just said, look, see if you want a centre half, maybe he isn't available until the summer. We'll just give you that extra 10 or 15 million to get the deal done now. Or do you sort of see it as more of a managerial issue?
No, I don't think it's a managerial issue. Like everybody that watches football, like Van Dijk and Gomez didn't get injured 2 weeks ago, and Matip didn't just start picking up injuries last week. Like, this is like Van Dijk and Gomez are injured from October, November. Matip's been injured. I think I can't remember now, but I read the stats, and I think he played in the space of a year last year. I think of the full season, I think he only played like 189 Premier League minutes or so. It's on a long terms. I'm not too sure. It was like a crazy stat. Like, and you're going.
He has been injury prone since he's arrived at Liverpool. So.
And you're going there like saying, like, you just won the Premier League. Like, the hardest thing to do is retain it anyway with a full squad. Like, so they should have just they've known the last 2 or 3 months. They should have just went 1st of January. Whoever it was, go and buy him. Well, like 50-60 million is change to them boys. Like, they might turn around and say, oh, COVID's tight, but them boys are worth billions. Like, you know what I mean? It's ridiculous. Like, and they're gonna sacrifice a full season now with that squad too. You have, like, that's not gonna last another year, maybe another year or two. Like, but after that, it's gonna be completely broken down. Like, because of the age of players.
We're starting to see now, right? As you're starting to see a sort of war of words between the board and Klopp. Klopp's coming out and he's saying stuff like, I'm not in charge of transfers. It's nothing to do with me. And you can sort of see this. I was chatting to you on Sunday about this, or Saturday was it? I think I was saying about Pochettino went down a similar route with Spurs. He was saying, I'll change my name from manager to head coach. I've got nothing to do with. So stuff like that coming out, it can be unhealthy in terms of board and manager relationship. And I'm not saying Klopp's is probably the most protected coach in the league in terms of he's not going to be sacked anytime soon. But you can see that unraveling a wee bit, and it does create. It creates pressure, and then the players, you can see there's uncertainty. I think the whole club at the moment's uncertain, and I think this whole centre back issue's been, obviously we chatted about it in December about you were saying, if we don't sign a centre half, I can't see us winning the league. And at the moment there is issues with goal scoring. We're gonna get into that, but you can see in big games the defence is an issue as well. And Klopp's obviously, we don't know, all we can do is sort of guess and sort of speculate. But from what he's saying, it's obvious he wants a centre half. He has, by what he's saying now, he's obviously very unhappy and he's been trying to hide it. But it's probably got this stage where he's so frustrated, and he's got no help off the board. So, do you see this as a potential issue now between the board and Klopp?
I honestly, I can see, like, FSG have been the same for 10 years. Like, they just don't go out, like, and spend money. Like,
it's a self-sustaining business.
It is. That's the way it always is. Like, but in terms of 5 or 6 years ago, you would say, all right, Liverpool were just an average Premier League team. Like, they weren't challenging for nothing. Like, you know, they kept saying, we're building. And Klopp's bolted now. Like, he's got the team where it needs to be. Like, they're won the Champions League 2 years ago. They're the Premier League champions now. You should be saying, you know what, we want to keep this. Like, if you want to earn money, you want to get the bet. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, in terms of the summer, they're going to go and buy a centre half probably in the 1st of July anyway. Like, I don't see why they can't just pay, like you say, the extra 10 or 15 million and go and get him now. Because for me now, it's just going to be a top 4 finish is what you can hope for. Because, like I said then, we couldn't take any more injuries at that point when we were chatting in the last one. And since then, Matip hasn't played. Henderson's picked up injuries. It's just been, I think Jota got injured. You know, it's just been a knock-on effect. So, like you say, you can't ask, as much as Fabinho does well there, he's not a natural defender. Like, he's going to make mistakes. Like, Williams isn't ready. Matip doesn't stay fit. And it's just a knock-on effect around the squad. Like, so they can, I don't think the players aren't, I don't think any of the players down in tools, or I think there's still the same efforts in it. It's just that the system is completely broken down now, because Trent was usually playing the ball here and Salah was always there, or Henderson was always here, and none of them are there anymore. Like, Van Dijk would sit in his own at the back and let everybody go.
Yeah.
That's now it has to be 2 or 3 always back, and it's just a mess at the moment.
you can see him on the touchline, and I think maybe Klopp could. It's hard because he's shoot it, but I think on the touchline he's becoming agitated, and then the players are becoming agitated on the pitch. It's like a whole. I think Gallagher spoke really well in the Burnley game. There was like a whole atmosphere around the game that you knew it was going to be an awkward night if they can get that early goal. And as the game went on, you seen Klopp frustrated at half time. The players looked very frustrated. The amount of times Alexander-Arnold just hoofed the ball into the box. And it's the first time I've ever seen him do it where he's actually not trying to pick anyone out. It's just there's nothing, no freshness, no ideas. And it's just like I think the board has to take a lot of the blame because it's sort of like it started at the top and it's gone all the way down to the team. And I think this whole centre half issues has caused massive problems for them. And now because I even think the players are probably when they see Williams on the team sheet, they're not stupid. They know deep down Klopp doesn't want to play him. And
it's the same at any level. Like if it's Saturday morning football, even kids do it at their own level. Like and they say, "Oh, this ball there," you can see everybody looking around. Like, and I know it's not right and it's not fair, but that's just the way football is. It's any sport is this. Any sport's the same. Yeah. And of course, like they're like Salah. You could talk about Salah, Firmino, and Mane. Like they're so used to doing a job. But they look behind them, and they see Virgil van Dijk, they see Joe Gomez. They see Henderson, Fabinho. They go, you know what? We can just go full pelt here. We can just do what we want, and everyone's grand. But now they look back, and you're going, nothing against Curtis Jones or anything, like, but he's only 19. He's not ready. Like, like Thiago.
Know yourself, Sam. Young players have dips in form. Jones come onto the scene. He was always going to have a dip, so you can't really expect that you say anything. They sustain that kind of level.
And so it's just fun, but here at the end of the day, it is what it is, and it's gonna be an interesting second half of the season now. Whatever happens, like
I think it's a huge test of Klopp's managerial skills now to try and get them because I actually think now top four. If you ask me, I don't think it's a guarantee anymore. We're going to get on that later on, but I think if Klopp was to get top four now with the situation that they've been in, it would be almost be a great achievement because as you say, right, you look at that. I look at that team now at the moment. There's no Van Dijk, right? There's no Fabinho or Henderson possibly in midfield. They're both playing at centre half. If Matip's not fit, so you're talking about three key players, not playing in their. Well, it's one player's missing and two's not in their position. So as you say, for Firmino, Salah, and Mane, their midfield's different and their defence is different. So it does come on date. But when we get into the front three, I actually was chatting to a couple of boys on here, and we were saying, about maybe a possible squad rebuild. And I think Kjarger was saying that one of the three might have to be sold. They try and maybe reinvest in the squad. And I think you look at it, Salah's probably the most likely contract situation. There has been a bit sort of talk of him leaving before. But I just wonder, is Salah the most important of that three? People obviously say that I think Mane catches the eye a lot and Firmino links the play, but Salah does score the most goals. And if you look at Salah's goals this year, if Salah wasn't in the team, where would the goals be coming from?
I said that to you in the last podcast we did, like, and people were talking about Salah. It's just like, for me, Salah's on a different level. Like, he's on the level just below Ronaldo and Messi. Like, he's at his goals to game ratio is assists.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people don't like him because he's maybe greedy and Mane always has a smile on his face. Like, but for me, like, Salah's more. You can even see there on Sunday, like, he scores 2 goals, like, out of nothing. It's what he does. Like, but in terms of rebuild and stuff, like, I think Klopp knew that was coming. That's why they went and bought Jota in the summer, like, because they put pressure on the front three and maybe try and break it up over time. Don't get me wrong, Jota came in and just scored goals, so he was trying to get all 4 of them in at the one time. But I think if Jota didn't get injured there, I say by now the front three would be broken. Jota would be in that mainstay, like I would imagine, like, so they did see that coming. Obviously, they wanted to bring Thiago on. They maybe. Them tight Champions League games, them tight games, he can just give you something different. But obviously, nothing's panned out because everybody. I know you keep going back to injuries, but everybody got injured, so everybody sort of reshuffled. Like, so, my hoping would be now, like, is this to try and start winning obviously games again and see what happens. But just obviously, you obviously first and foremost you want to get the top 4, and then hopefully get all the boys back next year and get a bit of luck. And I would imagine if everybody comes back healthy and you can get a bit of luck, I think everything will be all right again. Like, honestly.
So you wouldn't be keen on selling any of the front three at the moment? You would stick with that front three and maybe try to maybe bring in maybe 1 or 2 elsewhere and maybe midfield and stuff?
I honestly think the front three will be grand, like, and I think Jota comes in and, like, Like, I remember I was watching Kjarger's thing the other day and Neville, and they were saying about, like, none of them have been rested the last 3 years because they always played, and Jota was brought in to help that, and obviously he's got injured. So I think over time you can be able to reshuffle that front three and everybody gets a break. But I think their main concern would be top level centre half. Like, they compete with Gomez, they partner Van Dijk, and then just use Matip when he's fit. If he's fit, he's fit. If he's not, it doesn't matter.
I think as in Wijnaldum's contract's going to be up, it doesn't look like he's going to sign, so there's obviously going to be need to replace him.
Yeah.
And the disadvantage he'll have is he's going to be leaving for nothing. You're going to have to spend more to replace him. But and you think about Thiago, and there's been a lot of talk about Thiago, right? And I'm a massive fan of him. I think his quality, his ball control, his passing, his vision. There's been a lot of talk about him not maybe being at the intensity of pressing, and he's a bit lighter in midfield. In times he's easier to play against. You can get threes a lot easier. So with Thiago, do you think if he's going to play, he's going to have to be a bit more protection? So you're going to have to play Fabinho and possibly maybe Henderson, or if Henderson's getting that age as well, he's going to need resting. They're going to have to go and sign an hour for let Thiago do his bit.
Well, I think obviously it looks like Wijnaldum's going to leave, and then obviously Milner's 35, 36. Like, so there's definitely, I would say there'll be money spent in midfield in the summer, but with Thiago, he's not 100% fit now. You can see in the way he plays. Like, he's blowing up after just half time. He can't literally, he's playing the full 90, but he shouldn't be, like. But definitely when we played Everton in that game, the start of the season, like, and he played he played off the left of Fabinho and Henderson was on the right, like, he was unbelievable. Like, that he got so much space because obviously Fabinho was there to cover the ground, like, but to get the best out of him, he's going to need protection. He's going to need legs in and around him, and you can let him go and do what he does, like.
So see,
I don't know. It's
see when it comes to this game now on Thursday, do you think it's a must not lose game? Draw, even if you were offered a draw now and sort of stay a point ahead of Spurs, and losing the game would be a massive blow in terms of not just in terms of top four. Because you look at these, Everton's playing Leicester, so they're obviously in and around where we are as well, Spurs Liverpool. But there's going to be we'll probably go for a draw. Hopefully, we'll know before that game on Thursday. But going into that game, there's obviously a possible situation if Southampton were to won and Everton or Leicester, if Everton were to beat Leicester, Spurs and Liverpool could be off the game, 6th and 7th in the league. So do you think it's a situation where Liverpool can't really afford to lose the game? And I think Spurs are in the same situation. I don't think they can afford to lose it either. So how do you see it?
It's sort of like they definitely can't afford to lose it, but they can nearly not afford to draw it either. Like, they need to win. Like,
I think both teams have to win.
Like, Liverpool definitely need a one under their belt. Like, Spurs are in decent enough form at the minute. Like, they're doing all right. Like, you know what I mean? They're picking up points. They've crawled their way back, and they can. No, obviously they went through that period where they were poor. Like, but they started winning games again. So Spurs will be full of confidence. Liverpool's the one that they need it badly. Like,
yeah. Do you think in terms of the loser, whoever loses it, obviously they'll be a massive confidence knock, but. Do you think the loser is going to find it very difficult to get on the top four, or do you still see it as it's a very inconsistent league and the points could easily be made back?
I don't. I think it's still a wee bit too early, but it's not going to, like, if Liverpool go and lose that game on Thursday, that'll be 3 or 4 losses on a bounce, like, and then 2 draws, like, then you're the pressure mounts, like,
you even yourself get into the next game, it's more pressure, because I looked at Liverpool's fixtures and I looked at Spurs' fixtures, right? And this is where they've been slightly unlucky. But Spurs' next 3 games, they play last. They play 10th. They're a 10th fixture in the next 3 games. And Liverpool's 10th against Spurs, and then they're 9th against West Ham and 9th against Brighton. So all the other teams will have played. So again, if results don't go for you, you're in a situation where you have to win. And you know yourself, West Ham at the moment is probably one of the form teams in the league. That's not going to be an easy game. And then Brighton as well. They've got a wee bit about them that. If you go into that game with maybe draws and no one, it's more pressure. So I think both teams really have to win this game, which makes it a bit more of a watchable. I think it'll be both teams. I know Jose's going to be cautious, but I still think he's going to have to try, and if it's still 0-0 or 1-1 going into the last 15 or 20 minutes, I think he's going to have to maybe gamble a bit.
I think Mourinho will just do what he does. He'll just look the counter attack and attack that left side or that right side of Liverpool and the left side of Spurs. Like, and I'm just hoping that Matip is definitely fit for the game, because if he's fit, that's a massive plus. But if we have to go Henderson or obviously Williams or Phillips, like, it's going to be Liverpool's going to be a big bar, I think.
just looking, I think the midfield battle is going to be key. Just on the last game, I thought Liverpool were brilliant in the first 45, and sort of a common theme in Liverpool this year that they're good in one half, maybe not so good in the other. I think it's to do possibly that the midfield's different, and I think you say with Thiago, if he's blown, and it isn't the midfield that's used to playing together. So I think Liverpool, it's unrealistic to expect them to sustain a certain level of press. And you look for 30 minutes against United, I thought they were brilliant, and for 45 against Spurs as well. So it'll be obviously they'll be trying to get the early goals and probably try to put the game to bed, but that'll be Jose's trying to stick in there, and I think the midfield battle will be key. And one player that's is probably one of the most unformed players in the league at the moment, and obviously, I mean, you've been very critical of him, but the one thing you said to me last year when Carragher did that piece on Monday Night Football about Ndombele is the boys get talent, and he's starting to show it now in the last few games. Even last night he come on and done a wee cameo and scored 2 goals. I know it was against Wickham, but 2 goals were proper quality finishes. The goal against Sheffield, you can see the way he dribbles past players. Will he be a player that would concern you on Thursday?
It looks like he's. You could always see there was talent, but he's looking like he's taking it serious now, and everybody's starting to see what he's about. Like he looks like he's a top player, like powerhouse. He can sort of do everything. He can tackle, he can dribble, he can pass. Like he's got a sort of like a version of Toure sort of on him. Like he's got that sort of bit of power. I don't know if it was he didn't settle the first season or what. I know there was a few disciplinary issues. Like
I think as well, he was only 22 when he came. He's still a young lad. He's the same age as me. And I think he looks a lot older because he's broad and big, and maybe that there was difficult for him. And then there was obviously his attitude. And I think Mourinho takes a lot of criticism sometimes for criticising players, but obviously it's worked with him. I suppose it just depends on the person himself. Obviously, it's really worked with him. You can see with Ali at the moment it's going the other way, but
he seems to have just bought into Mourinho and done whatever Mourinho asked him to do, and he's definitely getting the benefits. So he's only 22. Like you can see he's going to have a big future. Like,
and I look at this game, and I think sometimes recent history can be a big factor. I don't like to look too far back. Somebody was saying to me about the Spurs Cup final coming up, and I was saying, look, I'm only really interested in the one against Liverpool. There's no point in looking back 10 years ago because it's different players. But over the last few years against Liverpool, Spurs team hasn't changed too much, and the Liverpool team hasn't changed too much. And whatever it is, even when Spurs maybe play well in stages of the game, and Liverpool maybe take Liverpool's best shots, they make a mistake or something goes against them, like an OG, or it's just a mistake, or Liverpool maybe produce about at the end. It doesn't seem to fall for them. It's almost like, I know you're a better team than us, but it's almost like you're a bogey team. Even when we seem to play well, you can't beat us. About like when Man City play us. Man City seem to play well against us and can't beat us. I don't know what it is. But obviously that's going to be in Spurs' head. I'm going into this game. So do you think that's maybe an advantage for Liverpool? That Spurs maybe think that she's Liverpool, we just can't seem to beat them? Or do you think they'll look at it and go, we're never going to get a better chance to beat them now? They're missing players, different sort of formation they're going to be playing. So you almost like you don't know what you're going to get, and there's a lot of doubt. They're in poor form. Do you think Spurs will and say, right, this is our chance to beat them now?
I think Spurs will be pretty confident on Thursday. To be honest, I think they'll fancy their chances definitely.
Well, they have to, don't they? I mean, if you don't, and I think this is one where Mourinho is going to take a lot of criticism if Spurs don't win the game. Because a lot of fans they're trying not to say too much on Mourinho, because one game maybe they draw a game and then they go and beat a team in the next game. So it's very hard to work out. The way I looked at it was, I want to see where we end up at the end of the season before I make a judgment on it.
Yeah.
And even if we don't win the game, I'm not going to go on a whole Mourinho outburst. But I think Spurs, where he loses this game, being negative, or draw this game being negative, it's going to hurt them. And the position they are in the table, if results don't go their way over the next couple of days, and Liverpool already beat them, or Spurs won't win the game, all of a sudden top four's not looking like it's going to be a certainty, and then it puts a lot of pressure on them. So I think it is a big game for Mourinho as well.
It is. It's a massive game all around, because, like I said to you last week, you're running out of games now. Like, it's all right the first few weeks saying, sure, look, it's whoever next week will get the run going. Then, like, we're halfway through the season and there's been no run. There's been just sort of 2 wins and then a draw, a loss, 2 wins. Everybody's sort of doing the same cycle. Like, so I think the more it goes near, obviously, the second half of the season, you run out of games and then the pressure mounts, and then some players, especially that Spurs team, like there's not a lot of players maybe in that team that have dealt with, obviously pressure runs,
there's not a lot of characters, I get you,
week in, week out, like, but for me, like, there's no better time to play Liverpool now. Like, they're nowhere near what they were. The system's just, it looks broken at the minute, just with personnel not there, but I'm not using that as an excuse. That's what it is at the minute. Like,
Just long
So
right,
with
just before we get into the prediction, but it's looking at the moment like United and City's been pretty consistent. I think since Spurs beat Man City, they've won 9 and drew 2. Hardy can see they've had 7 clean sheets. United have been, I think since United lost to Arsenal, they've been unbeaten and they've won a lot of games. So I think we're keen for saying, it's been an inconsistent league. It has been to a certain extent, but then teams had really, really poor starts and they've made up a lot of ground. And you can see over the last, they had, as you say, they've been pretty consistent, the two Manchester clubs. So it's looking a nailed on certainly they'll be in the top 4. Leicester's obviously been up there this year. And I honestly thought Liverpool and Spurs will both be top 4 this year. Do you still think they will both finish in the top 4, or do you think it's like the one is going to miss out? Do you think they are 3 will definitely be in, or how do you see it now?
I think Man City looks strong again. Like that Diaz and then Stones have just come out of nowhere again. Like they look like a solid partnership. Cancelo's a good player. Like, and
do you think De Bruyne maybe going out could change the outlook for City though?
See, that's the thing. De Bruyne getting injured now for 4 or 6 weeks, and then Vardy obviously for Leicester, it's going to put big pressure, on them teams. Like,
see just before we I think Man City's game tonight is a big one for them in terms of see if they were to draw with West Brom tonight, and it was like a 0-0, and all the talk about De Bruyne missing could sort of creep in. I think if they go and say 3 or 4 past West Brom tonight, it sort of wipes out that argument. So I think it's a big game psychologically for City tonight.
Definitely. Like I'm just looking at Liverpool's next few games. Like they also have Spurs on Thursday, then West Ham, I think, and it's Brighton, and then Man City. Like, you know what I mean?
It's a hard run.
And then if you're any chance of saying still title talk, you need to win the next 3 games and then go and beat Man City. Like, they think that you have any chance of winning the title. Like, but realistically, you just want to not lose to Spurs and Man City and beat West Ham and Brighton. Realistically, that's what is your best option. So the teams around you aren't getting the heady. Like, you're just staying where you are. Like, but top 4, actually, to be honest, I couldn't. Like 3 or 4, like 4 or 5 games ago, you're saying Everton and Leicester didn't stand a chance, even Southampton. And you look at Arsenal now, 3 or 4 ones in a row, like, and they're
not results go their way.
They're not a million miles away. Like, they start still grinding out results again, and results like, say, Liverpool and Spurs draw now, and
it'll suit the rest of the teams.
And Arsenal won tonight, like you say, or Southampton, like, it's an extra 2 points. They're not. You just keep gaining, like, so it's hard to. I don't know. It's near impossible to call them.
You think United and City by the top, so they'll definitely be in there?
I think so. They look the most settled in terms of team. The players like Man United are very settled. Like they haven't really had much injuries. Like Cavani starting to find his feet.
They've had things go for them. Definitely, I agree.
They're looking strong. Like, and they know the system they're playing. I think at the start of the season, Ollie kept trying to change it too much. It was a different system every week. But I think since that Arsenal game and the Champions League game, he hasn't changed it much. It's just stuck with the same player, the same system, and just went for it. And it's working. Like, it's definitely working for them.
You sort of know when their midfield's going to be McTominay, Fred, Fernandes, Pogba, Rashford, Martial, or else Cavani will come on. But Chapman changed a lot. Van de Beek was on. Sometimes he left Fred out and played Pogba deeper. It seems to be working. Pogba's getting a free role. It does seem to be working well. Even when they fall behind, they seem to be grinding out once. They're not playing that well. So you have to say it's looking unlikely them 2 are going to be up there. Leicester, well, you sort of think there's inconsistencies in them in terms against the smaller teams, maybe at home. They're making up the points away from home, and they have been pretty consistent. I thought they were very, very good against Chelsea. We're going to get into Chelsea in a minute, but it was a really all good round performance. And I thought, you know what, it looked like Rodgers was if he didn't, I think Mourinho probably people have a shared opinion on him, but I think people would say Klopp and Guardiola to the top 2. And I think if a team, if you could pick a third manager based on now, I would say Rodgers is up there. And he looks like a different manager. He was at Liverpool. He's defensive. The way Leicester were organised, I thought from top to bottom. And I think that was maybe with Chelsea pulled the plug. But I thought Leicester were everything that Chelsea wanted to be. They were better in every department. The manager was better. Goalkeeper, defender, midfielders, forwards. They had a system, their identity, their style. I thought it was really, really impressive. So you see Leicester being up there in the top 4?
They're definitely going to be in the mix for the end of the season. Whether they have enough now, if it cost them, we've already been out now for a few weeks, maybe, like it might, because they don't have another goal scorer in the team that chips in that many goals. Like, Ian Achu's not going to do it for them in terms of. But with Maddison, Barnes, and Vardy are on the pitch, like, they're a match for anybody. Like, and Maddison's having some serious form now, and I like Rodgers. I think Rodgers was very unlucky at Liverpool. Like, he he was a bit younger, and I think he just got bullied in the end up by the board. Like they sold Suarez and brung him in Balotelli and Ricky Lambert. Like he was
Okay.
dogged. You know what I mean? And
Aye,
then he was the man that sort of Steven Gerrard. He was the one that sort of told Steven Gerrard he wasn't going to be playing the minutes. But I would take him back after Klopp. I only had this conversation a few weeks ago with a boy, and he was like talking about Steven Gerrard coming from Rangers, they Liverpool and all. And I says no harm, but Steven Gerrard when he leaves Rangers needs to go to a top club,
well,
maybe take a
Alan Rodgers
championship.
is chalk and cheese.
Exactly. And I was like, I love Rodgers back. I like his style of football. I think he's obviously 5 or 6 years more experienced.
Yeah, I think the one thing that Liverpool let him down was probably his defensive coaching, and I think it's got a lot better. Maybe it's a backroom staff thing too, but no, I've chatted to a few Liverpool fans as well, and they said if Klopp was the sort of say at the end of the season it wasn't for him or maybe next year, and nothing ever lasts forever.
No.
They would go with Rodgers, and if, the only would Rodgers go back? That's the only thing. But I think he would. I think he would. But obviously, just on that, there's talk of Rafa, an our former Liverpool manager, going to Celtic. What's your take on that?
I don't know. It's a strange one. Like Rafa, for me, like nothing against Celtic or Scottish football, like, but Rafa's a top 10 manager in the world. Like he's in that bracket. Like.
He's an elite coach.
Like I thought, like I honestly thought Chelsea should have probably tried to take him to the end of the season, like they actually try and get themselves somewhere. Like that's what I was thinking.
See, the thing that would be interesting if Rafa does go there, him and Gerrard obviously didn't see ADA. It's Liverpool, there was a lot of issues, so that would be interesting to see how it went up there. But I just on Chelsea, it looks like a nailed uncertainty that Thomas Tuchel is going to be coming in there to replace Lampard. But woke up yesterday and I just seen on my phone, checked Frank Lampard sacked, and I was shocked. Just because of the fact they played a game the day before and won. It was one of them ones. It's almost like the Pochettino and Mourinho one where I think Pochettino, there was an international break and there was like 10 days after, and then he was sacked, and then Mourinho was announced right away. So it's almost like it's been maybe since the last couple of games they've been talking to Tuchel, talking to our managers, and then they finally agreed, and then they pulled the plug. It looks like there's definitely been background talk because the Tuchel deal's done pretty quickly, and it looks like it's going to be announced tonight. Apparently, Chelsea have organised a training session at 6 o'clock, which is pretty unusual. So I'm assuming he's going to be taking it in preparation for tomorrow's game. So just on, see with Lampard, do you think it was harsh, the dismissal, or do you think it was fully justified?
No, I think it's very harsh, like in terms of football clubs, but in terms of Chelsea, just you know what they're like. They're just ruthless. Like they want everything now. They don't want to wait. And I think you go back to maybe Arsenal 2 months ago, and we talked about Arteta, and we both said like we liked Arteta. I would like to see Arteta get time, and they've given the time, and he's brought the young boys through. And obviously they're not a finished article, nowhere near it, but you can see the improvements now. You can see what Arteta's trying to bring to the club, like and the philosophy, and put his own stamp on it. Like I think if Frank Lampard was at Chelsea, like he would still have a job, or sorry, at Arsenal, he would still have a job, or any other club.
I get you, 100%.
But I think it's harsh, like, but Frank Lampard's not stupid. He would have known what he was getting into. Like he played at Chelsea his whole career. He would have seen that. He's seen Mourinho doing the double. Mourinho did back-to-back titles and got sacked the next season. Like Ancelotti did the double and got sacked. You know,
he knew exactly, and I think he was one of them players too that was pretty instrumental in our managers getting sacked. I think about AVB and stuff. So obviously it was rumours. He's denied them, obviously because he's a coach now, and he said I wouldn't do something like that. You just wonder if possibly the foreign players at Chelsea just down tools, because I look at Mason Mount and he's probably been their best player, and he obviously has a relationship with Lampard at Derby, and being a Chelsea boy. And then you look at, I think Billy Gilmore made a touching tribute today saying he thanks Frank Lampard for everything he's done for him. So there's obviously some players at Chelsea that were fully behind him, but probably the wrong ones, the influential characters. I think Thiago Silva has a good relationship with Tuchel. He was probably involved. Werner and Havertz are German speaking. Tuchel's German. So there seems to be a lot of relationships that they're almost gambling on Tuchel coming in to maybe help the players that are struggling. And I look at the signings and people saying he spent 200 million, but people forget they had a transfer ban last year and lost Eden Hazard. So it's 100 million over 2 seasons. The players that they signed, like Havertz and Werner, everybody wanted them in Europe. I mean, Liverpool fans devastated that Werner went to Chelsea. Havertz was one of I think he was Europeans' top young boy about Europe. So everybody wanted these players. Ziyech, brilliant at Ajax, but they haven't really performed. So you almost think again it's one of them where the players have got on the sack.
I just see when I watched Chelsea last year under Lampard in his first season, obviously they couldn't buy anybody, but they looked like a proper team. Everybody was digging in. They knew what they had to do. I honestly don't think Lampard wanted any of them signings. Like
I think you're right.
Because I seen when I looked at Chelsea last year, I thought they were decent. They were good in midfield actually. They were very good, and they were decent up front. Their defense was terrible, and I thought like he's definitely going to go obviously buy a keeper, and he's definitely going to fix that defense. But the next thing they signed Havertz for 90 million or something like. And don't get me wrong, when Liverpool were linked to him last year, and I watched him a bit in that Bundesliga last year when the football started back, and I thought, gee, this boy can play ball, like, but
Definitely.
he doesn't suit Chelsea at all. Their system, like, every team has a system, and I was like, he doesn't fit that. You look at Werner, like, Werner just doesn't look like
awful. His confidence is so low. I think one thing Lampard, you could criticize him. He chopped and changed quite a lot, right? And players didn't get a sustain on the team. But he knew as well that he had to get results, and that's possibly why he was changing so much. But I can't think, going back, Sam, right? I can't think of any manager bringing in as many players. I think back to ABB at Spurs, and they sold Bale and bought all them players on. It never really works when you buy that many players, especially from foreign leagues. I think that's one thing that Lampard, he's not that. I don't think he would have been doing that himself, going like a kid in a sweet shop and spending for the sake of it. So I do think that there was somebody in our party at Chelsea picking players and having a lot to do with it. And if he's almost been saying, look, we're giving you world class players, you just make them play. And it's not as easy as that. You know yourself, as a manager, you could have the best players in Derry, but they might not play well together. It's all about chemistry, isn't it?
I don't think, I said when they were signing them players at the time, it's like, these don't look like Lampard players. They don't look like what he was trying to do last season. I didn't see it at all. Like, and like, like they bought Chilwell for 50-60 million as well. Like, and he's poor. Like, he's getting. To be fair,
Sam, you called that. I thought at the time Chilwell last year. I was saying you were a big fan of him at Leicester. You said he's defensively he's not as good as people think, and you were actually saying I can't believe he's getting that money getting spent on him. And you were right. You were 100% right about Chilwell.
I just thought I just look at like, and then how Lampard was under pressure in the summer. He was trying to fit Havertz in here. He's trying to put Werner in there, and then you've someone like Giroud that scores every game he plays. He might even make the squad at times, like. And then Abraham had a very good season last year. Scored, I don't know what he scored, but he was definitely in double figures. Like, he had a good season for his first Premier League season. He couldn't even get a sniff, and then you've Kante there. Too many players they try and satisfy. Like,
I mind when Carragher was on Monday Night Football and they were asking him. I can't mind who was on with him. I don't know if it was I think it might have been Lampard was on with him years ago, or it was John Terry. It was one of them Chelsea players. But Carragher was saying when Chelsea signed Torres, they knew that Torres was his best years were behind him, and they sort of thought 50 million. He's not going. I don't think he said he knew he was going to flop, but he knew that he's never going to produce the kind of performances he did at Liverpool, because even towards the end at Liverpool, he was poor, and he just sort of turned up in them games against Chelsea. And I think apparently Roman Abramovich really wanted Torres, so he went and sort of bought him himself. So you just wonder if it was him sort of having an influence on who was coming into the club. He's seen Havertz in that league, and when playing well for Germany, he's seen Werner scoring all these goals for Leipzig, and he thought, "Oh, get these boys." I don't know, because you say you don't.
I would imagine that's what's happened. Like,
and you just don't know. You just don't know how much Lampard had a say in things. But even when it comes to Tuchel, do you think that's sort of a bit of a gamble? In terms of he's been at Dortmund, and I don't think he's done overly well at Dortmund compared to Klopp. And then you look at PSG, and they got to the final last year, but numerous times they maybe played against a good side and they were found out. I just wonder tactically, is he as good as what people say, and is it a guaranteed success that he's going to be better than Lampard?
No, I'll be very surprised if he's there at the end of next season. Like, I don't see it at all. Like, I don't think he did. Dortmund played nice football under him, but they didn't win anything. He went to PSG where I could manage PSG and won that league, like, but he didn't do nothing. He bottled it in all the big games. Like, the players didn't turn up. Like, he had Neymar, Mbappe, Cavani at times, Di Maria. Like, it's endless amounts of like firepower there, spending sprees. Like, and he didn't do nothing. Like, they wanted the Champions League, and he obviously got their final, but like they were well beaten that final. Like, they didn't. Even I know it was only 1-0, like, but they didn't. They were second best, like.
Well beat that. I think as well, one of the things that's been said about him is his man management skills are very, very much questionable. It can lose players quite easily. Apparently at PSG, I don't think it's easy at PSG to lose players, but he fell out with sort of top players. But it can be very unforgiving, and he's very ruthless. And players either love him or hate him. And you think
Yeah.
about a club like Chelsea, there's a lot of player revolt, and players tend to have a lot of power. And obviously, he's going to know Thiago Silva, and he's going to know maybe some of them German boys, but it's not necessarily guaranteed that they may back. They could turn on him. They turned on Lampard. What's they say they'll not turn on Tuchel. So I think it is a very. I've sort of thought about it, and I thought, you know what, that's a really really risky appointment. But I think if you look at Benitez, get him in for 6 months and then reevaluate in the summer, I think would have been a better option, as you say.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought might have happened. When I heard Benitez leaving China the other day, and then the Lampard stories came out, I thought he must be going there for 6 months now just to steady the ship for them and get them what they need to get. And then, like, they should have went, like, for me, like someone like Allegri, someone's proved that top level, and he can set up a team. And I don't see Tuchel working in my opinion. Like, I don't. I just.
It'll be interesting to see him in England for the spot, and I think it's going to be an 18-month contract with an option of a further year. And the fact they're only giving him 18 months tells you what you were saying. That they apparently, I read before that Chelsea were unsure about him.
I don't even know they had an 18-month contract yet. I was just thinking
18 months is quite unusual for a manager, especially a sort of manager that's got Tuchel's reputation. And then apparently he's been interviewed for the Chelsea job twice before, and they decided against him, which makes it even more strange. And apparently Abramovich wanted Nagelsmann, but Nagelsmann was unwilling to come until the summer. Again, he's obviously a well talked about manager, but again, it would have been risky because you're only really judging him on Leipzig and stuff. So there's not a lot of top level managers out there, but the Tuchel one, it does strike me as panic.
I wasn't surprised when I obviously heard his name in the running for it, like, but and I'm not surprised that he gets the job, like, with Chelsea. But 18-month contract just shows you that come the summer they're only going to lose a year paying him out, like, so they're not too worried about it. Like,
he's obviously looking for an instant bounce now when they come on, because you look at the games, and this is where I think that they were maybe a wee bit early to pull the plug on Lampard, because their next games were Wolves at home, Burnley at home, Spurs away, right, can be difficult. Sheffield United away, Barnsley away in the FA Cup, and Newcastle at home.
Yeah.
Conversely, they're possibly looking at that and going, that's a great start for a new manager to come in. You look at them 6 games, bar the Spurs game, the rest of them is all favourable fixtures. Wolves are obviously having a really poor run. Burnley at home, all right, they can be difficult, but if you get an early goal, you think you'll beat them. And then Sheffield United away is obviously the worst team in the league this year. Newcastle's on an awful run, and Barnsley in the FA Cup. So there's 2 sides of it, but I think Lampard deserved at least that run of games to try and turn it around. You look at Arteta, he got a few favourable fixtures and got on a run. Ollie's got time before they turn it around. So I just think they went a wee bit early, but then they panicked and thought, if we lose these next couple of games, then top 4's gone.
It's definitely, I don't know, like, but I feel it's definitely a bit early on Lampard. Like, I think he's done a good job for how long he's been there. Like, in terms of he's only been able to. Well, I don't think he bought the players, but he's only been able to get new players in the summer, so he hasn't even had 6 months with them. Like, you know what I mean? Due to with no pre-seasons, and sort of everybody's working as they go this season because nobody had a chance to actually work with the players. Like,
I think that's the one thing that we're going to chat about this on young managers, but I think that's the one thing you can sort of give them a wee bit of leeway on. That Lampard, Arteta, Ollie, they're young first-time managers. I know that Ollie's managed at Cardiff before in Norway, but they're young managers. And they did with all this COVID stuff, the no fans. It's very unusual. Even the top managers, I'm sure, are finding it difficult. But for young managers, there was ever a time to give them a wee bit more extra time to try and deal with all the situation. It would have been nice, surely.
Yeah, be interesting. No, definitely, and I think, like, that's what I was saying. Like nobody had good preparations. Like, the season obviously finished late last year, and then a few of the teams went to run in the Champions League and the Europa Leagues, and then everybody was sort of just back playing a few weeks later, and obviously all the testing every 2 or 3 days and quarantine. It's very difficult for anybody. Like, so, but I think they've lost. I think Frank Lampard's going to be a good man. I think they've lost a good manager. Like, I think he'll go to. I don't know where. I know there was some people saying about them going to Celtic. I don't think that would be a bad move for him, to be honest. Like, they learned his trade in a lower league. Like, I honestly think he got that job too early. I think it was too big of a job, and that's what I was sort of saying.
You make a great point, Sam. Right? You make a great point, because my next question was going to be to finish off this sort of topic: was why are so many managers being fast tracked? You look at Ollie United, right? Nobody can tell me he was the best qualified manager to take over United at that time. Arteta at Arsenal, no way he was the best qualified manager at Arsenal. They took over, and then Lampard as well. So why do you
Yeah.
think so many young managers are being sort of thrown into these situations now? Do you think it's because it's a cheap option, or I don't know what would?
Maybe it's a cheap option, or like I think Arsenal have gone about it the right way. They've brought Arteta in young, and they're going to back him for a few years. They build something like where Chelsea don't let anybody build anything. You either win the league or you're out. So they should just go with top level managers the whole. They're like a Real Madrid, like they just go top level the whole time. And because, like I say, Arteta and Man United, to be fair, gave Ollie like I think like if Ollie was at Chelsea, he'd have been gone a year ago.
Yeah.
So Man United have done it, and they're starting to get the rewards now of sticking with the manager and finding the system and the players buying in.
Yeah.
I think Arsenal are nowhere near. Don't get me wrong, like they'll not finish in the top four this year, probably not even finish in Europa League, but they'll build this year, get them young boys experience, and then they'll get to go again next year.
Yeah.
And it happened to Rodgers at Liverpool. It was then in 2014. He got the job, and it was all great when he went on that title run. And then as soon as things started to go a wee bit pear-shaped, they just got rid of him. Like it wasn't his fault. Like that. They sold Suarez and didn't replace him. Like he wanted Sanchez in, and they brought in Balotelli. Like, do you know what I mean? It's the
see one thing I looked at, right, and I thought cheap option possibly. Maybe they're not. I think Mourinho is on double, but Pochettino's on Spurs, so they demand big things. I think the big thing is it's probably easier to control an Arteta, a Lampard, a Solskjaer than it is to control a Mourinho, an Allegri, a Benitez. They've been there, done it. They'll not put up any shade. Whereas maybe these young managers feel lucky to get the job and privileged, and that they'll just take anything. That if the board says you can't have this player, no bother. I'll try and find a young player. I don't know. Maybe that's what it is.
That's what I think. I'll just go back to Rodgers again at Liverpool because it's the only thing I sort of know in terms of Liverpool. Like, but when he came in, obviously they had that Suarez, Sterling, and Sturridge partnership and stuff, and Coutinho was in the mix, and things went well. But then I remember the time when like Suarez was going to go. He was going to go the year before, and then it went the year after. And he says he wanted Alexis Sanchez in. They replaced Suarez, but the board then ignored him and went, "No, we're going to buy 6 or 7 players." I think they went and bought Markovic, Lallana, Balotelli, Ricky Lambert. The left back? I can't even remember his name. From Sevilla.
Oh, Moreno.
Like they went and bought quantity over quality, and then just sort of said to him, "No, that's your squad now." Like, and Rodgers has a system of playing. Like, he likes to press, he likes to work. They just. I think if Rodgers was at Liverpool now, or if he was at Chelsea, or if he was at or even at Leicester, obviously, but he would have a lot more say. He would say, "No, that's not happening. This is the way I want to." He'd be sort of like the same as the Klopps and the Peps and the Jose's now. Like he's experienced, he would say, "No, I don't want that. This is what I want. And if you give me that, I'll get results." Like,
and I think as well with Rodgers, if he was going to leave Leicester, it would need to be he would need to get that assurance, because I think at Leicester, the owners are pretty good at Leicester. I know that I know the fella died, but the sons come on and took over, and they don't seem to be shady spending a bit of money. The new training ground they're building's top level, sort of on the level of Spurs and England's training business in George's Park. And they do seem to be growing as a club, almost like you sort of think it's going to be like a top 7 now, not a top 6. The big 7, they're going to be part of that. So definitely, and you look at the squad of players they have, it's a far better squad they have than they won the league way. So I do think, as you say, there's great points with Liverpool, with Rodgers buying maybe 6 or 7 players, AVB at Spurs 6 or 7 players, and then Lampard 6 or 7. It rarely ever works. So I think it is very unfair on a manager, and I think at AVB has said himself as well. At Spurs, it was that Franco Baldini was picking the players, not him. So he sort of get dealt his hand the players and said, "Here, try and fit them in."
It was your man Kamoli did it at Liverpool too. He just said
he was at Spurs as well before.
Stuart Down was all that. Remember they bought them ones as well, down and all at the one time as well. Just crazy stuff.
A manager should be able to love and die by his decisions at the end of the day. Sam, great show. Just want to finish off with the predictions. I actually forgot to ask you for Spurs Liverpool predictions, so we'll do it at the end. But football starts. Probably started now. Starts 6 o'clock. Crystal Palace, West Ham. How do you see that going?
That started at 6 o'clock. Did it there? Hey, West Ham. Hey, they're playing some great stuff this year. I actually enjoy watching them. Like they're strong, they're fast.
Moyes is repairing his reputation at West Ham big time, because it took a lot of hits. People forget what he did prior to United. And people only sort of look at the last few years, but he is repairing his reputation, because that West Ham squad, it isn't overly blessed with players, and they've had the injuries to Antonio and stuff. I think he's done a really, really good job.
Yeah, I think Moyes has just found his level. That's no disrespect to West Ham or Everton or anything like, but he went to a big club like Man United where it doesn't matter. All you have to do is win every Saturday or every Wednesday. It's as simple as that. There's no excuses. Like, that's the way it is. But at West Ham and the Evertons, you're afforded the excuses. Like, players can be 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10. Where Man United, everybody has to be 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10. I think
the pressure is different.
It was just too much. And I think then the likes of Van Persie and the boys gave him a bit of a hard time. They down tools on him and stuff, and
I think he just got a roll start as well. The fans done one from the start. The fans were always on his back, and I think that's the big issue when there's fans in the stadium and they're sort of against you before a ball's kicked. You see with Steve Bruce in Newcastle, they're just waiting for him to get a bad result. Yeah. And like United, the pressure was too much.
Like Moyes was never he's not a tactical manager. Like, he can't set up a system and say, this is what we're going to do. Like,
yeah.
He gets big, strong players and he goes direct as much as he can. Like, that's what he does. That's what he did at Everton for years.
Southcheck's been like Fellaini. He's been a brilliant signing from.
Exactly, Fellaini and the boys. So I think he's found his level, and you know what? It's good. I like West Ham, like, you know what I mean. And they're a big club, and it's good to see them actually doing well. Like, I think I would fancy West Ham. They beat Crystal Palace, to be honest. Maybe 2-1.
I just went for a 1-1 draw. I think it could be tight. I think Antonio was injured. I think that could be a big must for him. But I think 6 o'clock as well.
Is he out? Is he?
I think so. I think 6 o'clock as well. And Newcastle's playing Leeds. I'm going to try and catch the rest of those games because I was fascinated to see how Newcastle are going to set up, because probably terrified of Leeds. Leeds put 5 past them last time, but I thought if there was ever a game Newcastle were going to turn around their run, Leeds look a wee bit leggy and they look like maybe they're in a bad run of form. This could be the perfect game. What's your thoughts on Newcastle?
The thing about Leeds, like, Leeds could turn up and they could beat you 5-0, like, or they could turn up and you could beat them 3-0. Like, they're so inconsistent. Like, I said to you at the start of the season, the first game, like, I was saying, like, no, the way they play, they're gonna take some beatings, like. But Newcastle are poor. Like, Jesus, they're so bad.
Steve Bruce must be looking at Lampard and thinking, I'm so lucky to be in my job.
I know. I'd say, but here he could be the Newcastle manager next week anyway. So
I think, you know what? I think this game's huge for Bruce. I think if they take an hour beating, Villa beat them. It was so easy. I think Villa were close around.
I thought he was gone.
I think an hour beating.
I thought he was gone last week, to be honest.
It's just 1 goal in the last 8 or 9. I think it's 8 or 9 games. They've only scored 1 goal. He's been back. He's bought players. Yeah, so I think he's very fortunate to be given this amount of time. I don't know why the owner I don't think the owner cares that much, but it's looking like relegation with Bruce. So I think this game's huge for him. How do you see it going?
I would say maybe Leeds 3-1.
I've gone 2-1 Leeds. Moving on to 8 o'clock, Southampton against Arsenal. Obviously, they played at the FA Cup at the weekend, but Arsenal, I think, rotated a lot of players. Just on that, do you think that was really strange from Arsenal? They sort of sacrificed the FA Cup. Seen the rest of the teams all sort of went. Spurs went strong enough. United, Liverpool played strong enough teams. City strong. So Arsenal completely sort of threw away the tie. I thought they left out most of their star players.
I couldn't believe it, to be honest. I actually couldn't. Like, I didn't see the game on angry, but one of the boys, Gareth Breslin, he's a big Arsenal fan. Like, he texted me, like, he was gutted, like, he couldn't believe what Arteta had done. Like, you know,
I think this puts a lot of pressure on this game for him, but because he sort of sacrificed this game for this game. After they lose this game, you know, it's not going to go down well.
Yeah, I think I had my head a 2-2 draw for this.
Just before he Walker Peters has been ruled out, and Bertrand with injury, but apparently Aubameyang's also out. Some personal issue, and I think Kieran Tierney's out. So does that affect your decision? I think both players just must have an injury, so I think both teams won't be playing the strongest teams with injuries and stuff. I actually went for a draw today. I went for a 1-1 draw. I think it could be quite tight.
I'll stick with 2-2.
2-2. West Brom against Man City, 8 o'clock as well. How do you see that going?
I think the last time I was on, we had these predictions. I think it was West Brom and Man City as well, and I said 4-5.
Same pictures from back to back.
4-5-0 Man City, and I think did Man City lose the game, or did they?
They drew 1 each. That was the game before Bullock got sacked. It's 1 each.
I was thinking that's right. I was saying 4-5, but you know what? I'm going to go 4-0 just because I think if City score early, it's game over. Like,
I think City are looking a bit more a different animal this time playing West Brom. I'm going to go for 2-0. Moving on to Wednesday, Burnley against Villa. I think last time you called it Burnley 1, and it was 0-0. I think we were pretty close to getting. I think Villa were playing really well at the time. So do you see maybe Burnley at home beating them this time?
You know what? It's two teams playing well in different ways. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
Villa are absolutely
Villa are
brilliant
great.
to watch.
They're great. They watch. Geez, I watched them there at the weekend. Like, and they're just the way they move the ball, and they crack Jack Grealish, and the boys are playing. Your man Rory and Watkins. Like, they're playing some stuff, and they were actually very good against Man City. They got robbed with that goal. Like, but Burnley, like, they're just so physically strong, pump it long. But no, I actually fancy Villa, like, because I think Tyrone Mings and your man Consa can deal with the aerial battle of Burnley, like, but I don't think Burnley would be able to deal with what Villa can offer going forward, like.
No, I think you're right. I think
I'll go 2-1 Villa.
2-1. I'm going to go 1-1, but it is going to be a tight game. If you say Villa, maybe really match them physically. And just on that, before we move on, I don't know if you've seen it today, but they've changed that rule now that Man City's goal would have been ruled out.
I've seen it.
Absolutely. Fine Dean Smith for that's embarrassing. I think it's the worst, best league, worst officials. It's shocking. It's awful. Like,
I couldn't believe what I was watching.
No, Chelsea Wolves, some of them are at 6 o'clock. I think I would be able to watch to see Tuchel and how they are. I think it's a nice game. They come on. The Wolves look seriously short of quality up front. Jota leaving, going to Liverpool, and Jimenez's injury. They just look like a completely different team. And to be honest, I think only the teams below them are pretty poor. I think they've been in really serious trouble. I can't see them where the next one's coming from. Even that West Brom game, you think at home, and West Brom go and beat them. I think everybody be looking to play them at the moment because they're not really scoring enough goals and they look a wee bit shaky at the back. So how do you see this game for Chelsea?
You fancy Chelsea's going to be out now. The usual thing after a manager gets fired, they'll all come out, all guns blazing. Like, but I hope that doesn't happen. I would love Wolves to be.
You wouldn't be surprised if Werner scored a hat-trick and looked like a different player, would you?
Do you know what? But I would love Wolves to beat them just to second Chelsea, like, you know what I mean. But no, I'd fancy maybe Chelsea 3 or 4-1.
I've gone 2-0 Chelsea. Brighton against Fulham. You know what? This will probably be entertaining because two teams that love to attack. Watch Brighton against Leeds, and I thought they were brilliant, really well drilled. I think one thing that kills. I think Potter's a good manager, just probably a lack of quality at times. If Mopay doesn't score, there's nobody really else that can score. So how do you see this one going?
See a 2-2 draw. Just I can't pick a winner.
2-1 Brighton. I think I went 2-1. Everton Leicester should be pretty entertaining this game as well. Two teams that sort of teams that people had wrote off at the start of the season. I think the title will probably be a bit much for two of them, but definitely I'm going to chance a top 4. Leicester's possibly missing Vardy, which could maybe be a big disadvantage in this game. So how do you see it going?
Fancy Everton 2-1.
2-1. 1-1 I went. United playing Sheffield United, so Man United against Sheffield. I think Sheffield are really struggling, and it's when I looked at the fixtures this week, I looked at Man City against West Brom and United against Sheffield. I think that puts the Liverpool and Spurs under even more pressure going on Thursday. So how do you see that going?
I think Man United 2-0. I would say I don't think they'll score too many because I think it'll be a tight enough game, but I think they'll have enough to do the job. Like,
I went 3-0, and then moving on to Thursday, big game. Spurs Liverpool are going to be obviously watching this game. Both teams have to win, in my opinion, as well. And I think sometimes when both teams have to win, they can end up being a draw. It's strange how it works, but how do you see it going?
1-1.
1-1. You know what? I think this is the day we break our bad record against you, Sam. I'm going to go for 2-1 Spurs. It's the funny stuff now. I don't say 1 each last time when I was wrong, so don't be taking me as gospel. I just think
not like you do not sit in the fence.
No, I just think Spurs have to win this game, and you know what? If they don't win, I'll be very disappointed because you're never getting a better chance to beat Liverpool. But if Liverpool do go and win, I think all of a sudden the negativity will come away, and they'll think he's going away to Spurs and getting a win, and Liverpool usually when they go in big games usually turn up, so you would expect them to turn up for at least some part of the game. Spurs have to well that storm, and then hopefully they can maybe the likes of Kane and Son produce a bit of quality. But if they do win Liverpool, it will give you a bit more positivity moving on to the season.
Yeah, I'm just hoping that Matip and Henderson can play. Just if they start, I think it's a different Liverpool team, like, you know what I mean. But if one of them two is missing, or both of them, like, you're in trouble. Like, it's.
I know what you mean now. Here, Sam, brilliant, really good insight as usual. I'm sure I'll be on again. Really enjoyed the chat. Just on like Friday. Coming up, I've got Arsenal and Man United playing, so I've got an Arsenal and United fan coming on for second fan debate of the season. So for everyone that's watching, he's sure he's enjoy that. And he's really enjoyed the last one we said I can name it. So Sam, top man as always, and good luck on Thursday, man.
No bother. Thank you. Shall we chat to you before it?
Cheers, lad, man.